Welcome to the Let's Play introduction to the Wargames Star Trek Online edition. The objective of the game is to make two teams, and each team will have from 2 to 10 players, and the objective is to survive. You're doing that by making sure that you keep your HP high and making sure that the enemy has no HP points left. Now there are also another winning condition. In case that the game goes for too long, after 30 minutes in the fight, you can choose to stop the game there, and the winner is the one that has the highest HP points in percentage. Now the first phase starts with the players choosing a starship card. That's this here. Both players can choose the same ship card, and the ship card comes with the ship stats that's contained here and here. This includes the HP points and SP points. The HP points are the amount of life you have in the game, and the SP points are the shield you have. In order to hit the enemy's HP points, you have to take the shield first. And it also contains the amount of weapons it has and a bridge kit. Now every ship has its own bridge kit, and there is a rule about them. As you can see here, there are some numbers. Those indicate the slots. So every ability has, as you can see on top of them, some numbers, and that indicates whether an ability can go in there, and the color indicates in what slot that is. So for example, for this card here, there's 2 slots in the blue, which means I can have up to 2 blues. In this case, I have 1 and 2. So here I have abilities that either have 1 or 2 there, and again 2 here. So that's how it's balanced. After the players decide on what ship they want to play, so they choose their card, the building phase starts. This is again based on these numbers. So there's a recommended bridge kit, which is essentially just pre-built. It's for new players to get to understand the game and what they can potentially do. But essentially what this means is that you can choose whichever abilities you want, as long as they follow these rules here, the 1 and 2 numbers. So you cannot put, for example, in here in this ship there's slots 1 and 2 red, so that means I cannot put a card that has red and number 3 or 4 on it. So I have to follow those rules. It's a balancing mechanic. As the higher the number, the better the ability is, or the stronger it is. Then we have the countermeasure system. This system goes as follows. You start with 0 points, and you can have up to 3 countermeasures per red, yellow and blue. There are abilities that give you these countermeasures, and the way that the countermeasures work is if an enemy uses an ability that has a debuff on it and it's specified on the abilities in the rulebook that is a debuff, then in that case, if you have, for example, a red countermeasure and the enemy player uses an enemy debuff on you and you have a countermeasure, then the countermeasure is taken off and instead you're not receiving any debuff. So there is this mechanic here that players need to be aware of. Players take turns, so the way it goes is player 1 and then the enemy player and then player 2 and then the enemy player. Cannot be one team and then the next team. It's always one side then the other side, and then so we have this back and forth. And each turn is consisted of using up to 3 abilities, and you can fire 1 energy weapon, so you can have 1 attack. This is done in the end of the round, so after you use all your abilities. And you can also choose when that attack happens to also do a projectile attack, but projectiles have a cooldown, so when you use a projectile, then for the next 3 turns it's going to be on cooldown. You cannot use it, so then you just put the projectile cooldown piece here so you can show that this is on cooldown. Some ships also have an experimental weapon. The experimental weapon can be used every turn and it does a standard damage, so it cannot be buffed from the other abilities, while the projectiles and the energy weapons can be buffed from abilities. Now we also have the power system that includes these 3 pieces. Now what the power system is essentially is the power system, the weapon system, the shield system and the auxiliary system. The weapon system is used to fire weapons and also to use any tactical abilities except from tactical team. So that's this one here, and you essentially need it can be taken offline. If it's taken offline, then in that case you have to repair it to either use the abilities except again tactical team, and use your weapons. So if your weapon system is offline, you cannot use your weapons, and you don't repair it, you cannot use your weapons for that turn. Now all the systems have they repair on their own after 2 turns, so if you don't repair them after 2 turns, they will come online. So essentially what happens if you don't repair them, you just put this here so you can know that this is offline, and if you repair it, you take it off. Otherwise you wait for 2 turns and then you take it off. Now shields is probably the most important one. If shields are taken offline, then that means that these points here are bypassed, which are the shield points, by the way. So that means that any enemy attack comes straight to your HP, and obviously the point of the game is to maintain your HP. so it's just a way to lose faster. Now the points don't get like they're not deleted, they stay there, but like if you bring the shield online in the next round, you'll have all the points, so you don't lose them, so you don't have to heal them. They're just bypassed. Auxiliary power. Now auxiliary power is used for science abilities. Again, the only ability that doesn't affect auxiliary power is science, and there are also some engineering abilities that have the auxiliary name in them. So in that case will be this one, the auxiliary to battery. These abilities require you to have auxiliary power online to use those abilities, otherwise you cannot use them. And this is pretty much the game. Yeah, as I said, we go through the building phase. We choose, so we get all the HP points, the SP points, as they indicated here. So this is the gray ones are the HP points, the blue ones are the SP points, and then we make our build and we start playing. So in order to decide who goes first, we're gonna roll a dice. So at the moment I don't seem to have a dice, so I will just go first, but the way that happens in the game is you roll a dice, and the one with the highest roll gets to either choose if they'll go first or if they'll go second. So in this case I'm just gonna go first and start playing. So I'm gonna be this side and this is gonna be the enemy side. So by starting I will have to do the first 3 abilities I want. I can do up to 3 abilities, which means I can decide not to do 3 abilities. I recommend you have the rulebook at the beginning with you because there are some details there. So until you learn to play the game on your own, just use the rulebook and make sure you're doing what it says. So I will start by using tactical team here. This means it's a cooldown. I can use it in after 1 turn, which is gonna give me 2 countermeasures here. I'm gonna use a science team, which again is exactly the same essentially. It will give me 2 countermeasures, and I'm gonna use also an engineering team and get 2 more countermeasures. And I will also do an attack with energy weapon, so I don't have any buffs at the moment because I didn't use any abilities that give buff to weapons, so I'm just gonna take 1 of the shields of the enemy, and this is where the my turn ends. Now coming from this side, I'm not gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna use the debuff here, the attack pattern Omega. Now attack pattern Omega gives a hefty buff. It gives 3 extra energy to damage to energy weapons, and 2 more to projectiles. So I have +3 to my main weapon and +2 to my projectile. Then I'm gonna use emergency part to weapons, which also gives a weapon buff. So that's another +2 energy damage, so that's 4 to energy damage so far. And I will also use weapon overload, which also adds 1 to energy damage. Now all those are buffs, there are no debuffs, so no countermeasures are activated here. And I will do my attack. So that's 5 energy. So that means I'm losing 5 of these shields. Now I also have an experimental weapon here. So this does a base of 2 damage, so I'll lose another 2 of my shield. And finally I will also do a projectile hit. Now I have +2 in the projectiles. Projectiles, when there is a shield, only do 1 damage. So in this case they will do 3. And again, that's my shield completely gone here. And this, and my turn there. Now coming back here, I can obviously my shield is gone, so I maybe want to do something about that, or maybe I can go on the offensive, but I'll decide to first do something about my shield. I'm gonna use transfer shield strength. And transfer shield strength gives me, to be exact, +2 to my shields. So I will get back 2 of my shields. And then I will use auxiliary to battery. Now this ability brings the cooldown of all the abilities back by 1. Now these abilities had 1 cooldown, that means that this is lifted, so I can use them again in this turn. And instead of having 3 turns cooldowns, I'll just have 2 turns of cooldowns for this ability. And I will also, so I will use my tactical team here. Now this will normally gives me 3 countermeasures, but instead I'm gonna get only 1 because I'm at my max countermeasures. And I will do a direct modulation as my third ability here. Oh no, what? I've already done 3 abilities, so I cannot do anything more. So in that case, I'm just gonna do 1 more attack and take a shield. And this is my turn. Now it's the enemy's turn. So now I think I will start by going with a tactical team here, just to build up my countermeasures. So we get 2 countermeasures. and do a transfer shield strength, get my shields back. And then I will do a weapon subsystem targeting. Now this will bring here my weapons offline, and I will also do my attack. In this case is just a basic energy attack, so we'll use one of my shields here, and then I also have the experimental weapon, it's test 2, so in this case I will also lose one shield and 1 HP. And that ends this turn, and now we go to this turn, to this side here again. I'm gonna use emergency power to shields. Now this takes my normally brings my shields online if they're taken off, but it also gives a heal, so that will be one heal, so one shield I will get back. And then I will do a structural debility collapse. Structural debility collapse deals I think it's a debuff, an engineering debuff if I'm not mistaken. Yes, so it does a projectile damage +1. Now this is an engineering debuff and the enemy doesn't have any countermeasures, so in this case they will take the debuff. And also I do a buff of torpedo high yield. This also gives +1 to projectiles. In that case fire my projectiles because I cannot fire my energy weapons. I will do 3 shield damage here, and this ends my turn. Now coming on this side, just checking the cooldowns. Nope, still on cooldown for one more turn. This is coming back. This is coming back too. This doesn't because we used it. And this is still far because it has 5. So I will use an engineering team here to get 2 countermeasures. And a science team to also get 2 more countermeasures. Blue. And we'll also do high yield attack. No, actually I can't do it because there's still a projectile or cooldown. There's one more time for that. So in that case I will do an overload, which adds 1 to the energy weapons. So in that case I will just, my energy weapons will do damage, so I'll use my shields get down again, then I get hit 1 more time, and then the experimental weapon will do another 2 damage, and I'll lose 2 more HP here, and that ends my turn. Coming back here, I think we have a few coming back. Oh yeah, I forgot to put the projectile before, so this is already 1 turn. So I cannot use this in the next one. I can use this. Nodus has one more turn. I can use this now. Oh, I used this before. Yeah, so it has one more turn again. But I can use this, and also I can use this now again. So I'm gonna use them again because obviously my shield is down. So this will give me 2 shields back, and this will give me 1. And I will also use an engineering team, and this will give me the final countermeasure here, and will also give me 1 HP back, if I'm correct. Yeah, it's 1 HP back. And my weapon system is still offline and don't have projectiles, so cannot attack, so this ends my turn. And it's this side again. Now, if I'm correct, this comes again back. This doesn't. This comes back. And this comes back. So what I'm gonna do now, actually this is gonna go, we're almost in a half hour, so in this case I'm gonna finish the game here. So obviously we haven't lost any HP points here, and we did lose here, so in this case this side lose, and this is the game.